It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's our goal. Hey, it's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa. I'm Tom Papa. So good to talk to you. Thank you for coming along. The podcast continues to grow. We keep adding more and more guests to the table. Clever. To break bread with us. And I thank you. We have a great one today. We've got Jesus Trejo, who is a very funny comedian from Southern California. I just get such a kick out of his act. And we actually go into the studio on the Breaking Bread set. And we actually sit down. I buy him a bunch of treats. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say it. I ate some of them while I was waiting for him to come. I couldn't help it. I got these black and white cookies. And I'm just sitting there. And I'm waiting for him to show. And I had bread for him. I had other things. But those cookies were just teasing me. And it's a bad host. If you're hosting, you've got to... If you're hosting at home, you're going to eat the whole time. Everything I put out, I eat. By the time people have come, I've eaten everything. Put chips out, I've eaten some chips. Put some cheese and crackers out, I've eaten all of that. Start making the food, I'm eating as I'm going. And then I sit down with everybody and have the meal. You've had 2 meals. With Jesus, I have no excuse. I was just... smelling this black and white cookie, which is such a New York staple. I wanted to bring something from where I grew up and hung out as a young comic, and share it with Jesus, who's totally into the Long Beach, Southern California, Mexican heritage, all of the good stuff, which you'll see in the conversation. We just really take a deep dive into all these great things. And I know black and white cookies are not in the bodegas where he was hanging out. So a little East Coast to the West Coast. He's such a great guy, and I really think you're going to enjoy the conversation immensely. He's a very deep guy too. And then we talk with we take a quick bite, grab a quick bite with my good pal Nate Bargatze, who's got a new Netflix special, The Greatest Average American, and it's streaming now on Netflix. Just came out. I mean, just so great. He was already on as a guest here on Breaking Bread, and I was actually thinking about him today because he is all things Nashville, and he's always pushing Nashville, and we get into that when we even have the phone call. We're both a little sleepy, to be honest, when I got him. He was out touring for the first time in Wisconsin, and I had just done a live streaming show, and I was a little spent. It sounds like 2 comedians kind of just catching up that next morning. A lot of times when you're on the road, you and the other acts, you kind of you roll out, not too early, but early for people who are performing super late at night, and then you meet up in the lobby and you go to breakfast together. It's one of the greatest parts of being on the road, actually. Any show anxiety, any work is in the distant future. You are really in this little sweet spot, especially if you have shows on a Friday. And then on Saturday, you've got that little, just like once lunch hits, you're in show mode. Once lunch hits, you're starting to work backwards from the show. You're thinking nap, you're thinking notes, you're thinking shower, you're thinking dinner, you're thinking show. It's all structured. But there's that little gap in between waking up where you can grab some coffee, sit with your other comedian friend, and have just a moment of just pure joy. That's kind of where I caught Nate. So I think, I haven't listened back to it, but I think it will sound like 2 comics who are early on a Saturday. He's so funny. And I was thinking about him because they had huge rains in Nashville. He's always he's like the Nashville spokesperson, and so many comedians have been moving there recently. They do get pummeled with rain, like it floods there. I hope everyone in his area is okay, but they actually had to come in and help you. It was the highest rainfall that the second highest rainfall, I think, ever in Nashville. Scary stuff. I was watching Neil Young, this little special with Jonathan Demme was directing. It was Neil Young's performance at the Ryman, which is in Nashville, which is one of the coolest places. Country, just legacy, country roots. Like every great artist has played there. I was lucky enough to play there with Live From Here with our good pal Chris Thiele, who is the host of Live From Here. He'd been there a bunch, of course, because, bluegrass, folksy, genius. He's rolled through there with lots of different artists, and he got to steer the ship and bring us through the Ryman. And Nate and I actually sat upstairs in Johnny Cash's dressing room. They call it the Johnny Cash. I don't know if Johnny Cash was naked in there, but they named a dressing room after him. And Nate and I got to hang there, and then Nate was the guest comedian, and I was doing my monologue on it, and it was just pretty great. Just to walk out on that stage was pretty special. All things Nashville with Nate. How you guys been doing? I hope you're doing all right. You feel it. You feel we're starting to come out of this, right? You can feel it. I just got my second dose. Yes, second dose of the vaccine, my friends. I am making my way back to what? I don't know. Live performing for sure. This show is sponsored by Tom Papa, who's going out to Omaha, Nebraska on April 17th, and the following weekend going to Kansas City, Missouri for like 3 nights. And I will be mighty. I will be vaccinated. Not only will I be vaccinated, it will have kicked in, and I will be protected. So get out there, kids. It seems like any way you can do it, do it. Oh, we're so close. I keep hanging on to that 4th of July, the idea of the 4th of July, whatever plans you're going to have with your friends and family. That seems like we are going to have masks off with people like, yeah, bring a friend. Bring a friend. He doesn't have to wear a mask. Bring a friend. I'm so tired of okay, we're going to see our friends. Put on a coat. We're going to be sitting outside. And you get this feeling like, yeah, but we're all safe. Yeah, maybe. Hopefully. I don't know, though. But no. Come summer. I'm already thinking about the grill. I got to clean the grill. I never really clean the grill. I'm kind of one of these people that has the feeling that a dirty grill is a good grill. Like the more stuff you have on it, the more fat that's been cooking and dripping. And, I use the brush, not an animal. Clean it off that way. But underneath it is nasty. It really needs some care. I feel like I'm probably eating stuff I should not be eating at this point. But I got plenty of time. We got plenty of time before we head into the big barbecues. But man, I do feel it. And I'm telling you, after the first dose, I started like wandering into stores with no mask. I just thought it was over in my head. My subconscious was just like, yeah, we don't need masks anymore. It's so crazy. So I can only imagine what my behavior is going to be after this one. Holy Toledo. But I do feel good. I have to say, though, the first one felt like miraculous. It felt really powerful. The second one just felt like, okay, this is a chore. Let's just get this over with. But the first one was actually moving. It was like a deep breath. It was like, all right, we did it. It was moving. This one, just go to CVS, which, by the way, is the place you're going to get COVID, it felt like to me. I mean, the people in line and people that weren't getting the vaccine just hacking up a lung, walking through the deodorant aisle, and just a scary scene. It was like I may be getting corona as they're putting the shot into my arm. So creepy. Hey, I want you guys to check out Jesus's Showtime special. It's called Stay at Home, Son. And also there's a documentary out there, I forget the name of it, but that AARP did about him because he cares for his parents. And it's really, really moving. And he's such a good human being. And his parents did so much to create a great life for him. And in turn, he's paying them back tenfold by caring for them as they get older. And we touch a little bit on it, and he's just got a great story. And we will talk about that stuff, and we'll talk about great food and things like that. But then go check out his comedy, because that's the thing that really drew me to him in the first place. He's just a funny comedian, and he's just getting started. So, okay. Enjoy now my interview. I'm going to get in my radio car and fly to the studio and sit down and break bread with the great Jesus Trejo. I screwed up my timing, and I usually tried to bake you a bread.
Oh, okay.
And I bake pretty great bread, and I screwed up the timing. So I will give you my loaf when I see you again.
Okay, done deal.
But this is a gift from Bell Bakery in Studio City.
Oh, awesome!
This is a sourdough loaf. I can't tell you it's going to be as good as mine, but bring it home and share with your family.
I would love that. Thank you so much. That's super cool. I'm a big fan of bread. Like, it's like intervention levels. Where people are concerned for me. Just Mexican bread was obviously my first introduction to bread, but I mean, I've definitely gone on different tangents here and there, but bread, I mean, wow. So
all right, well, that's
you.
a gift for you.
Thank you.
What's the sweet bread? The Mexican, it's like
pan dulce is
conchon.
Conchas.
Conchas.
Yeah, conchas. Oh, that's
conchas is more like almost a donut-y, right?
Well, it's kind of like a dinner roll of sorts. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like. But then they put the sweet stuff on top. And concha is like in reference to seashell. So it's supposed to look like a seashell, and it comes in vanilla chocolate, strawberry, or the yellow kind.
Yeah.
But yeah, conchas were a big part of my upbringing.
Man, I did when I had this show baked on Food Network for a split second.
Uh-huh.
And we went to East LA, and I made conchas with the guys at this bakery.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I forget. I'm spacing on the name. I'll list it when we do it. But they were super cool, and I went in the back. I mean, maybe they spoke 2 words of English, and I think hello was one of them and goodbye was the other.
That's great.
And I just hung with these guys who were like probably 65 years old, and the speed that these guys just cranking at.
They could do it with their eyes closed. We had such a great time.
I literally was thinking I should stay here all day and just learn how to make this stuff.
Well, next time you go, I would love to go and translate and also learn how to do the conchas. I'm telling you, like, I am obsessed and like, I'll tell you this story. So my aunt, my mom's sister, so my aunt and uncle owned this like little shop in Wilmington, right? Uh-huh. And they owned it for years, and they did masa in the back for like tortillas and tamales, but they also had like, years later they had a bakery.
Right.
But before that, they used to have this thing. They call them vitrinas, like a thing where you store all the bread. Uh-huh. And I would always we would visit a lot, and I would always open it and just smell it. And my aunt would be like, close the door, the flies get in there, and then people don't want to buy it. Like, close it. I just want to smell it,
It's like you're taking a hit.
Oh, just taking a hit, just a bong rip of pan dulce, just diabetes to the dome kind of thing.
So pan dulce is sweet bread?
Yeah.
So is it just on the outside of the bread, or it's all mixed into the bread?
I mean, Mexican people have really done a great number on bread. You know what I mean? I mean, everything from like a cinnamon roll that you can think of, but it's like a red kind of like a marmalade kind of thing. To like there's a bread that Felipe Esparza and I we talked about one time where we just laugh. It's a slice of bread and a lot of butter and then sugar on top, and that's the pan dulce, you know.
Right.
And the butter doesn't melt for some reason. It's just on the shelf. It's there. There's empanadas, which you know there's stuff with you name it. Polvorones, which is more of a shortbread, and that was my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Canastas, which was like a basket, and it was filled. It's basically an empanada, but it was just like a cup, and made out of bread, filled with you know whatever the filling was, and then like 2 lines on top of bread, like kind of sealing the thing inside.
Oh man.
I remember one time, my aunt was like, "You can have a piece of bread." So I would go and I look at all the pieces of bread and I find the 2 biggest ones that I could find. And I took them and I went and I weighed them. So let's say it was like 0.25 and this was 0.27. I went with the 0.27 and she caught me one time. She's like, "Are you weighing the bread that I'm giving you?" She's like, "Get out of here." And I ran off, of course, with the heavier one. And my mom was so
a bakery?
embarrassed.
They ran a bakery?
It was like a bodega shop, if you will. You know, they had like a meat. They sold meat, you know, masa in the back,
right?
And yeah, they had all kinds of stuff there. But years later, they had the bakery there. My aunt and uncle were very generous, and they would hook me up. But the main thing, there was a guy who delivered bread, right? And loaves of bread.
Yeah.
And they would always get it like as a gift. He would drop off the cinnamon raisin bread.
Ooh,
that is my crack, Tom.
That is so good.
Oh my God.
You know, I have a, this is kind of a, you bring up a sore spot because I bake tons of bread. I'm baking bread all the time in my house and my kids hate raisins.
Really?
My kids hate raisins. And it's like just a store-bought Pepperidge Farm cinnamon raisin bread is like heaven on earth.
It really is.
With butter, toasted.
Oh, butter, or some peanut butter in there a little bit. Like honey and peanut butter. Like it...
It's so good.
Yeah.
Forget the kids. I got to just start making it.
Yeah, because it was like, I think that the combination of the cinnamon, the bread, and the raisin just brings me back to like this time in my life where everything was okay.
Yes.
And even if it was bad, that would take all the bad away. You see what I'm saying?
100%. You're immediately thrown into your socks and pajamas.
It's like hearing that song that comes on the radio unexpectedly, and you're like, "Oh, I'm back in 7th grade, you know, Mr. Castillo's class, and you know everything was cool, and I had hair back then." You know, it's like, you know, cool stuff.
I'm passing a note to the cute girl over there. Everything's okay. Oh, now that was in. Did you grow up in Long Beach?
Long Beach, born and raised. Yeah, my whole upbringing was out there. There's some great bakeries. I could. I could take you to some really dope bakeries. I actually live right next to one now. I live in the South Bay.
Oh yeah.
But man, it's good.
When I drive around, I see spaces, especially now that like a lot of businesses are changing because of the pandemic, and you know, some didn't survive, and you see these spots, and you're like, that would be a good bakery. Oh, that one's got parking. That would be a good bakery. I always think like, oh, we can make bread in there.
Yeah.
And when I was driving by, I was like, oh, but it's kind of crowded. And I was like, but no one's going to complain about the smells coming out of your bakery.
Not a bakery. That's the one thing a baker could be sure of. No complaints, you know?
Not at all. You're like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah. It's like even like a cinnamon roll place. Like I remember like Cinnabon now, but I remember there was a little mom and pop, you know, bakery inside the Long Beach Mall, which is no longer there. It was called the Long Beach Plaza. And, you know, it was on the exit right by where you catch the buses, the bus terminal. And my mom and I used to go down there, and they had the cinnamon rolls. They put the glaze on it, and then they put like pecans on it if you wanted afterwards. And it was just like, I would work with my dad all week, right? And I would save up my money to go on Sunday and buy one of these, maybe an extra one for, you know, I can cut in half and take to lunch during the week.
It's the greatest.
And
what were you working with your dad?
My dad's, he was a gardener. You know, he did landscaping for years. So my whole really upbringing was either going to work with my mom. My mom cleaned houses and was a nanny.
Right.
So I would go with her whenever she was allowed to bring me in, and I could behave and not break anything. And or my dad, I would go with my dad to mow lawns and that kind of thing.
And you would and he'd pay you.
And bread, he knew that's. It's so funny. We like when I was a kid, my dad was like, "Hey, let's go to work." I'm like, "No, I'm not going to work." He's like, "We'll stop at the donut shop. We can get an apple fritter." I'm getting dressed. All right, let's go. And now my dad, both of my parents are vaccinated, but my dad kind of put up a stink about it.
Oh yeah.
And then he's like, "I'll go if you buy me number 11 from Jack in the Box, the sourdough grilled chicken sandwich." I'm like, "All right, great." He's like, "But today and tomorrow." I'm like, "Get in the car." So we bribe each other with food. Yeah.
He got you to go to work and you got him to take the vaccine.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, we would go to work and my dad would pay me a couple bucks, it's like.
That is the coolest.
Yeah. And it was always used for bread.
Treats.
Yeah. Always.
That's amazing. Now I'm really feeling bad that I didn't bake you my bread.
Oh, no. I will be back. I will be back, Tom. And I'm going to pick up that bread and we're going to go to that panaderia and learn how to make conchas. That's what we're going to do.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, this guy was the coolest. And it was such a cool... Because I'd really never been in a Mexican bakery before. I realized when I was there. Like, I've been in Italian bakeries and, Irish, like East Coast, Northeast, is where I grew up. And it was like, oh, wait. These guys are working bread in a totally different way. Look at all these treats. Look at all this. There was like... And everybody... it was the same thing, just in a different rhythm of the people came in and they knew exactly what this guy gets every morning. They like the line was out the door. You know what I mean? They just come in as like, oh yeah, he gets 3 of these and 2 of those.
Yeah, it's like people go into panaderias, like it's like imagine like being a kid and going into a comic book shop.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Tuesday. Okay, yeah, give me the 2 Spider-Mans and I'll take a Punisher and a Wolverine. Oh, they got the Origins back. I'll take one of those. So it's like they already know the order, and the baker will suggest, "Hey, we got a Cyclops one this week. Throw it in there."
It's really true.
Yeah, it's something.
So when you grew up in Long Beach as a kid, and was it what percentage was it Mexican in?
So
did
Long Beach.
Did it feel like this was your people were the dominant culture, and it wasn't until or was it mixed?
So Long Beach is predominantly, at least in the area that I grew up in, was like Hispanic, mostly Mexican in my area, Mexican, Black, Cambodian, and that was in the area East Long Beach. That was pretty much it, and it changes depending on where you go, but I grew up in such a way that I didn't really learn Spanish until like around the 5th grade.
Really?
Yeah, because
your parents didn't speak it in the house.
I didn't learn. I didn't learn English until the 5th grade.
Oh, English until the 5th grade.
English. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So Spanish is my first language, and it was because I was around, people who only spoke Spanish. So it took years for me to really have a grasp on it.
Right.
And I was
until 5th grade. So you're in school and you're speaking Spanish.
Speaking Spanish, I was testing terribly. I was getting a lot of,
They wanted you to speak English. But
they
it
wanted
wasn't
me
happening.
to speak English, but it was just like I had no support at home when it came down to homework and that kind of thing.
Right.
So English was learned from radio, cartoons, my friends in the neighborhood. And, you usually start with the words they don't want you to learn first, and then you learn the more practical stuff. So it did take some time, but it was kind of like there was a pressure there.
Yeah.
For my parents to really learn English and to kind of, be a caretaker early on to kind of help, with the household. You're translating, you're doing that kind of stuff.
What age did you become the caretaker? Because you have an amazing. Your stand-up and your stories are just so amazing, and it's all about this. And it's but at what age were you stepping up as the?
I think early on, the caretaking thing kind of started with translating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know, you're going with mom to the doctor, and you're translating,
Right.
you know, situations that are very uncomfortable for a 10-year-old, and
Right.
you're trying to find the word, like the words in the air. He's saying, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're filling out important paperwork, you know, for my dad and my mom and I, you know,
Right, at 10.
at 10, like, yeah, it's like, even younger, you know, my mom would go to different people, be like, hey, can you help us read this document? You know, we don't
Right.
know what it is. And then my dad would always say, he's like, you're going to school, how come you don't know what it says? I'm like, I don't know.
He's like, you do it.
This is hard, you know?
Yeah,
It's like,
of
we're still at
course.
3-syllable words. This is 5-syllable English words. It's like, I don't know what this is.
Did you feel at that time, like up against it, like this is overwhelming, or you just feel like, I'll just
Yeah.
deal, I'm going to be...
Yeah, it's overwhelming. I mean, I did terribly in school for such a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
like I would go to a lot of tutoring stuff, but it's like a tutor is only so good if you understand the basics, and I didn't understand the basics. So it's
Yeah.
like, for you know, something that they deemed basic was very advanced for me at the time, and
Right.
you know, I started to kind of catch up. And you know, one of the things was that I spent a lot of time in the libraries. You know, it's like I was either going in there just reading books, or I was, you know, hiding from bullies or that kind of thing.
Right.
But or even like when my dad or mom couldn't take me to work, I would just go to the library all freaking day and
Right.
stay there. And then my mom would be, you know, running down the downtown, like the sidewalk area, waving at me, going, I'm here. And I'm holding hands with the librarian after the library's closed. He's like, oh, there you are. Here you go.
Wow. And were you in there because it was a safe space, or because you felt like you needed to read and hustle up?
That's a great question, actually, because I think it was a little bit of too. It was a safe space. I was learning, you know, and my parents would be like, just read a book, you know. It's like, you know, you can get with it, you know, do some work.
Yeah.
So that was part of it, but also it was like I was very much attracted to like the learning, the books, and
Yeah.
I mean, I figured out the Dewey Decimal System very early on. It was like I could find books based on the numbers, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
But
yeah.
as your parents, I mean, if we were dropped in another country, and knowing that my brain can only learn maybe one new thing a month at this age, like I would look at my kids who were little sponges and be like, hustle up, you learn this, because I am literally, I know it's not going to happen.
And I give a lot of credit to my parents. I mean, you know, it's like to come to a country, like especially my dad, come to a country where you don't know the language, and to start a business and have a family, and you know, you have a family back home that you need to support as well. So it's like I really hats off to my dad, because he was able to figure out how to run a landscaping business with very little to no education. Period. And same for my mom. You know, she was able to, you know, have her business.
Where'd they come from?
My dad came from Sinaloa, and then my mom came from Guadalajara,
Oh, okay.
Jalisco.
Is that near?
No, they met here in the States.
Got it.
The story goes it's like that. My dad was mowing lawns,
Right.
You know, in Palos Verdes. That's where they would work. You know, my mom was a nanny for a few different families. And, you know, my dad's worked construction during the week, and then when he clocked out, he would go mow lawns, and then, you know, weekends he would work, you know, landscaping as well. But the story as it's been told to me is that, you know, my mom was cleaning the window one day of this house. She looks out, and my dad looks up and waves at my mom, and the rest is history. You know, that's how they met. They met on the circuit. You know what I mean? So.
Nice. That's great. He brings out some sweet bread.
Pan dulce?
So was he young were they both young when they came over?
No.
Like in the 20s?
Yeah, I think they were actually like in their 30s. My dad was in his 30s. He had to come back and forth a bunch. You know, he had crossed a bunch. It was tough crossing over it, you know, during those years from what I understand, but it was a little easier. Like when he came the first time, you know, he struggled to get, you know, through. But my mom, I think, came at a little bit younger age than my dad.
Right.
Because she was working with this doctor that had an office in the States and in Mexico. So she would come back and forth, but then later she was just like, I'm gonna go, and
Yeah. And is it so when you see stories of thousands of people trying to get into the country, and we're going through it now, right? Where it's all across the border to Texas, and you see these people that are just doing everything they can to come across. There's got to be a more of an understanding of this is not, these people aren't trouble. These people are in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, because I have the added, like the advent of, I look at it like this, like, when you have like a 3D book and you have those paper glasses and one's red and one's blue and you put them together and it makes the image kind of pop out. I think I have that. I have the, the side of being an American,
right?
Being American. I was born and raised here,
right?
And then having the lens of like my father and my mom of them coming here. And when I look at a situation like that, it's heartbreaking because you realize that these people aren't bad. They're family, they're that's a family man, a family woman, and they're doing the best they can. And it's like, I always kind of, I always think about it. It's like, I think decisions would be made differently if they were to consider this notion of like, that's a provider. That's, he or she is doing something really crazy just for the benefit of not themselves, but the coming generations. It's like, what more selfless thing could you find in this world other than the love of a parent? And it sucks. And they're like, well, they're going into these camps. It's like, if somebody told you that your kids and their kids and so on would have a different life if you crossed, the border and they laid out everything, these are the dangers, and you go down the list, you're like, yeah, that seems like a good deal. If I can get through, I mean, and then they go through the dangers again and be like, this could happen, all the terrors of crossing the border. Yeah. And without skipping a beat, they'll be like, seems like a good deal to me.
It's better than what I'm living with over here day to day. I think about it all the time. When you, all around the world, when you see families like on the move, fleeing from trouble, it's so hard just to do anything with a family. Right. Like to take the little kids and who, they can walk through a mall. Right. And it's like they're exhausted by the time they get out of the parking lot. Could you imagine what's going on in these parents' minds that had to take this little bugger and try and walk for miles? I mean, it's just. This is not a choice. This is not. They're not like, hey, let's give it a. This is life or death situations for these people. It's and
it's, it's like some people. Yeah, it just. I think there's a way more mindful way of dealing with it, and I know there's a lot of politics involved and this and that, but it's like, man, at the end of the day, you just have like if I was in that situation, I'm going all in. Yeah, but
any way you can do it.
But to your point, it's like all those families. I mean, that takes a lot of planning, and it's tough. And I mean, it's hard for me to load my mom and dad into the car to go to a doctor's, visit, but to coordinate, a journey from your homeland to another country. Oh God! And beyond, it's like I don't know that I have those kind of organizational skills or that kind of grit. It's a different kind of person.
Well, you're not. You're in a position where it's just you have to do it.
You have to do it,
right? And you're not making this. You're not like, if there was an easier solution, you would take it. Yeah, you'd be like, all right, if the option is to go just hang out at the beach, sure, I'll go hang out at the beach.
Right, exactly.
It's not what's going on. All right, something else that's on my mind, which I feel guilty about, is
what's going on?
While I was in the bakery, I was like, well, let me give Jesus black and white cookies, because this place really makes killer ones, and it's kind of an East Coast New York black amazing. And white thing. And there were 4, and while I was waiting for you, I ate the other one.
That's hilarious. I don't know if you can hear me as we were talking. My stomach was growling. Did you hear it at all?
You can eat it now if you want.
I was like, oh man, I'm looking at it, and
these
it
are
looks
all
amazing.
Yours. I don't want another one because it's really good. And I'll tell you, coming from New York.
Look at these.
There are a lot of bad black and white cookies. This is a good one.
This is top deal.
Yeah, you're gonna like it, and I apologize that.
No,
you should have had four.
no.
I
No,
couldn't
look, there's
control
2 more in
myself.
there. Grab another one. Grab another one.
They're all yours. This is I am the host, and that is for you.
These are great, but these remind me of like polvorones. You know, it's like, you know, sometimes they have like, you know, galletas, and they kind of have like this type of frosting. Would you call it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is right up my alley for sure.
Can I tell you what I'm envious of?
What's that?
Of your culture is the way that you pronounce your Spanish names and phrases and things, because you don't just say them. Like, I took Spanish in high school. My daughter's taking it now.
Nice.
I try and talk to people and say that I'm muy guapo, and I do those things.
That's pretty good. Teach me.
But when you, but when you, and I was talking with Gabriel Iglesias the other day too, and he does the same. You all do it. You have such a flair when you get to the words and the names.
That's so funny.
Like, I say Gabriel Iglesias. You say
Gabriel Iglesias. yeah. The twang. Yeah, it's like, you know, it's coming. It's almost like, you know, hold and then boom, it's delivered. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
I feel like Italian people do that too, especially in the cooking sense of it. You know, it's like, here it comes, ricotta. It's like, yes,
it's true.
You know?
Yeah, that is true. You're right. And you were making your spaghetti carbonara, and it starts to lay out. But man, I was just, you do it so effortlessly. It just bum and
Yeah, that's so funny.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but it makes me think that you really would much rather be speaking Spanish right now, because sounds so much more fun. I'll deal with these English words just because I'm talking with you. Tom.
No, I like both languages, but it does. Yeah, it's so funny. I haven't really thought about it a bunch, but yeah, when you get to the Spanish word, it's kind of like, and release. So yeah, it's like there's a guy with a slingshot out here with R's, and you know, just ready to go, and it's like, you know, you're about to say the word car in Spanish. Go, carro. Just, you know, let's go.
And we don't have that. We have a word that we learned, and we're going to try and just remember the word.
Yeah.
So we say caro.
Yeah. The word for jacket in Spanish. Ready? Release. Chamarra.
So was there a lot of authentic cooking going on in your house? I mean, your parents.
Oh yeah.
Who's the main?
My mom.
Oh yeah.
My mom could really. I mean, she would roll up those sleeves and just. I mean, she would do so much with. Sometimes we didn't have a whole lot, you know.
Right.
And she was able to just put these dishes together. I mean, and even going back like to the bread. Like I remember, so there's a dish that they call capriotada, right? And capriotada, it's almost like a
capriotada.
Yeah, so it's like a bread pudding. And what's interesting about that in particular, that, you know, depending on the region in Mexico, they do it differently. And I kind of, you know, grew up with a certain style of it being done. And what my mom would do, the way she would do it, because our oven like didn't work for years, like our apartment, you know, manager at the time, or the building they were, like they didn't care or whatever. Long story there.
Yeah.
So we didn't have an oven growing up, you know. So my mom would get just a regular pot. It wasn't a what do you call it? Those special pots,
like a hot plate. Oh, like a crock pot.
Crock pot. It wasn't a crock pot. It was just a regular pot. And what my mom would do, she would grab conchas, the ones we were talking about, slice them up, and then she would dip them in this milk that she would put together. It had cinnamon. It had leche condensada. Like a carnations type of milk.
Right, like an instant milk.
Yeah, like an instant milk. And she would put cloves in there and some like seasoning and you know, stuff like that. So she would like really like slow boil this milk.
Right.
And sticks of cinnamon are sticking out. And everything was on this milk. So it's almost like a tres leches, if you will, but in a bread pudding form.
Oh, the house must have smelled nice.
Oh, it was great. It was like if we were selling this apartment, we would sell it right away. You know, the hell with the smell of cookies. Capriotada.
Yeah. The oven might not work, but
the oven doesn't work. And so my mom would, start, all these pieces were like little strips. You like put them in the bread, I mean in the milk, and start layering them. And with every layer, she would get Mexican cheese, like a queso fresco, and crumble it on top.
Oh man!
Here come the raisins. And the raisins were soaked a whole night before, so they were nice and plump and like juicy.
Oh my God!
So she would, do a number of that, do a number of cheese, and then here we go. We layer it until she got to the very top. And then by the time that we got to the top, she would grab the queso fresco, whatever was left over, and was just caked on, and just left there. And my mom would sit it on the stove, and she'd turn it on, and she'd leave it at the smallest possible setting that we could, get it to.
So a little flame.
Yeah, a little flame, a whole lot of smell of gas in the apartment, just perfect. And
but it's mixed with nutmeg and
nutmeg and we just leave it there, and then that was it. And this is a dish that's consumed during Lent. So this was in like to commemorate the 40 days that bread and water kind of thing. But you would have this and on Fridays because as a Catholic we don't eat meat.
Right.
So this is something that you could have, but it was so good. Oof. And just the way that my mom would make it, my grandmother too, I saw her make it very similar, but my mom had this style of doing it that was just so amazing. Man, I love this capriotada so much.
Capriotadas.
I would beg my mom to make my birthday cakes capriotada, and she's like, "You're crazy." No.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How tall is it? If you're layering it?
I mean, the whole size of the pot. It's
so
supposed
the size of a pot.
The size of a pot, but that's not how you make it. You're supposed to do it in a pan.
But she's working with that. Right.
She's working with that, so I didn't know. And I'm making capirotada years later.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm filling up the pot. This is great. And she's like, why don't you use the oven? I'm like, okay, I'm not going to Americanize this recipe, Mom. And she laughed and she's like, you know why we use the pot? I'm like, why? He's like, our oven didn't work for years. Got it. And I learned how to, it's exactly the same thing, but it was in a pan,
like a sheet pan, just like that thick.
Absolutely,
instead of that thick. Mm-hmm. But you would scoop it out anyway. Because it's like a pudding. It's like
it's very mushy and delicious. So it's almost like a tres leches meets a bread pudding.
Man, I understand the taste of it until you put the queso fresco on it. I didn't really like the combining cheese with that.
Yeah.
Because everything else sounds like it's like a Christmas dessert.
Yeah.
But then with the cheese
just brought something else. And here's another thing too. And this was learned from my grandmother, right? Mm-hmm. So my grandmother had, and my mom would do it too, but she would put tortillas, just regular corn tortillas at the bottom. And I was just like, and I would do the same thing too. I'm glad I remember this detail. And I was like, oh, this is cool. It's kind of crunchy. It's good.
Yeah.
Oily, sweet, kind of thing. And then when we did the pan, my mom was like, yeah, don't put the tortillas. And I'm like, why'd they do it? It's like, because there's a hot flame underneath and it will just burn the whole thing. So we kept the burning down. Like we can control the burning to just the tortillas and we can cut that out. I was like, oh my God, you are a NASA level engineer, Mom.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, that is great. Can you find that? Like do they?
Yeah, if you go to any Mexican bakery and say, hey, do you guys have capirotada, especially during this time before, April?
You're right, before Easter.
You're able to find some variant of it.
Oh, man.
And that's one of those things like, you know how you go to Disneyland and you see people with all these pins on their Disney Pass?
Yeah.
Like I would wish there was like a kind of like enamel pen that says, I ate this capirotada. You know what I mean? Just different bakeries. Yeah. Stamp my book later.
Are they really different? Are they? Yeah.
Yeah, because they
really vary.
Because the sweetener, I think, really changes. They use what's called piloncillo. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like a type of caramel, if you will, that's melted.
Oh man.
So some people use like the Mexican hot chocolate, which are these like extremely hard hockey pucks looking thing.
Yeah.
And you got to break it on the table and throw a piece in there. So it definitely varies. And some of them are more like, if we were to slice this and use a slice, and they would like drown it in the thing and put kind of like molasses on it.
Yeah.
And bake that. And you would have a capriotada kind of coffee cake, if you will.
Oh, so that seems like it's a little more firm, not like a
Yeah, a lot more firm in the oven. I guess if you have an oven. I mean, I don't know.
If you're fancy.
Yeah, if you're fancy. But yeah, there's so many variants of it. And
wow.
As soon as that's usually the first thing I ask during Lent, you know, in the bakeries that I happen to run into as I'm driving through LA.
Do you still give up stuff for Lent?
Yeah.
You do? What'd you give up this year?
I gave up eating red meat.
You did?
Yeah, because I wanted to like inch in towards the vegan stuff, but I'm just not cut out for that. I mean, I'm trying. It's so hard.
It's really hard.
I cut out red meat altogether, but it's...
The hardest part, I gave up chips. I was raised Catholic also.
Oh, really? Okay.
I gave up chips. Any kind of chip.
Is that hard?
Yeah, it's hard because I eat them all.
What's your favorite kind of chip?
Like a salt and vinegar, like a kettle chips.
Oh yeah,
like those.
Do you like dill
black
pickle
pepper
chips?
I do like dill pickle.
Oh my god!
But I'll admit something. I didn't have dill chips until like maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, I had them recently.
Oh,
I mean,
come on.
Life has its weird ways, and I'm just like, you held out on me for a long time.
Where were you? But here's the problem with the vegan thing. I totally get it. I did it that way for like a couple of years, and I felt good, and there was, made you more conscious about how we process food, and especially meat, and what we're doing to animals, and I totally am in alignment with that. But the problem is it takes so much of the joy of my childhood and my life and my sharing with my family, that I didn't like the emotional distance I had from sitting down with my father to eat, or sitting with my mother with her tomato sauce with ground beef in it, or you know what I mean? Like, and I walked into an Italian deli here in Burbank, and as a vegan, I walked in and the smells of my childhood just came rushing in, and I was like, I'm out. I can't do it. It's more important to me to share this stuff with these, and maybe just temper it down. Maybe don't eat as much of it, but I could not. It was more important to me to eat like an Italian than it was to be a good person.
There's so many similarities, I think, too, between the Italian culture and the Mexican culture. It's like the food is such a bond for like, that's what keeps the family together. It's like you come together to eat. Weekends is a big deal. It's around food.
Right.
It's and cheese, it's like you guys love cheese just as much as we do, and it's crazy. I went, my girlfriend took me to Italy the other day. Holy moly, I was having conversations with the people behind the counter at in the meat.
Yeah.
I'm talking to the pasta lady. I say, well, what about this one? It just tough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very similar, man.
I know. It's really similar. There's those bonds, and it's a way that you really share with people. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's not tough. It's actually the greatest thing in the world. But it's tough when you talk to your vegan friend and they're trying to convince you. You're like, I see it, but I can't do it.
Did you ever have any pushback, like from your family, like, at some point where you're like, I'm not going to eat this. I'm going to eat, healthy, and they're like, oh. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, all right. And my wife is a vegetarian, so when I brought her around for the first time, and my mother's making she knows she's going to be a part of her family. This is how she expresses her love for her, and let you know that we welcome you. So here's a big pot of bolognese sauce, which is chopped meat and sausage and stuff, and then she's like, I don't eat that. After you're making a sauce. Right. Yeah, exactly. And my mother was literally at one point was like, I'll just take off the top I'll just scoop some off the top that doesn't have meat on it.
She's so sweet. That's that's great.
No, it's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. Like I remember there was many times, because I was a bigger guy, struggle with weight. And
how much bigger were you?
Oh man, I was pretty big, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, like I remember at one point, I think at my heaviest, I was wearing like a size 42 waist.
Wow.
40. Yeah, 40.
Yeah.
And I'm a size 36 now.
Wow.
Which is not, they're tight though, Tom. Yeah. And so it's like, I remember my school uniforms being, but, and me going home and saying, in health class, they said that pasta and rice are starches and that's sugar and that's bad. And we're not buying rice anymore. My dad's just kind of tilting his head. Okay, sure. And we go to the store. I'm like, oh, look at this healthy option, and I put it in the basket. We get home, it's not in the bag. I'm like, Dad, what happened to the healthy options? It's like, oh, I left it on the conveyor belt next to the
behind your back.
Yeah, next to the shaving thing. Yeah, yeah. It just they just would not have it, and it's just hard because it's like if you're talking about like a traditional recipe, it's like some ingredients aren't great. It's like tamales. That's lard.
Lard, I know. Yeah.
So it's like, do you want the traditional? Yes, it tastes amazing, but is there alternatives?
No, Jesus, I have my white guy Taco Tuesday at my house, and I know when I'm trying to lose weight and trying to be good. And I know when we're ordering Mexican food on that Tuesday, I know it's going to mess me up for 2 days, but I can't not do it because it's so good. But it's a dense food. It's like eating Italian. There's a lot of starch, a lot of fat, and it's great.
Yeah, it's great. And going back to the caregiving side of it, it's like I bought a air fryer recently because you got to do it. So I bought one and I'm like, oh, this is great. I think we're gonna eat really well and some healthy options. Yeah. So I bought a bunch of zucchini, split them 4 ways. Yeah. The long way, little olive oil.
Nice.
Yeah. Put them in there, pepper. I'm like, we're gonna eat this. My dad would not speak to me. He's like, what are you feeding us? He's like, I am so hungry. You understand? And I would hear my dad at night. We all go to bed, and I hear my dad rummaging through the pantry, and it's just
a raccoon.
Yeah, it's like who's in the kitchen? My dad's like, mind your business. So chicharrones, I talk about it in my special. Like I caught my dad like hiding chicharrones from me. Like he would go down to the way and he would buy them and hide them.
What are chicharrones?
Like pork rinds.
Oh, geez.
And it's pork fat, fried in pork fat. It's like double no, Dad. And he would, but like he forgot, like he had left this one time. He left the bag on top of the refrigerator, and again, I'm kind of doing a bit, but it's like the real story of it is just like I was so heartbroken that my dad would like that takes teamwork. Like both of my parents are 5 foot.
You're lying.
It's like
me.
You guys work together to get it up there, and if you're gonna hide it from me, put it underneath the refrigerator. And I would have to like, just look for this stuff. And my dad would go on walks. The doctor said, you should go on walks. Yeah. And, because of your heart thing and that kind of stuff. And he would come back and his, lips be all shiny, and he'd sit down and it sounded like he's wearing a diaper. I'm like, what's in your jacket? He's like, oh, damn it. Chicharrones. I'm like, stop, man.
So it's a toddler.
It's tough. They can't help it, and it's years.
But you must have done something to drop all that weight. I mean,
I still fluctuate, but it's just like, eating, trying to eat healthy on the road is very tough. But you try, and sometimes you don't have the remaining carrot cake for breakfast, and you go with oatmeal and water and fruit. And you're like, great. I'm just gonna be starving from now on.
My friend put it in a good way. He said every meal doesn't have to be a celebration. Like we love food. There are celebrations, but you can just be like, these meals are just, I just need to keep going.
I'm not a violent guy, but I want to find your friend and punch him in the face. Not like, no, it's true. They don't all have to be celebrations. And, maybe, I've thought about that too. Maybe it's like in your upbringing where it's like, food maybe, we never went a day without a meal or went hungry, but, food was, say, limited. Mm-hmm. So as you get older and you're like, I have the means to buy this, I'm going all out lasagna 3 days in a row from, and it's like, no, you can't do that. Part of it is getting that out of your system and saying, I'm going to enjoy this, but in moderation.
Right. That's the
cheat
key.
Day, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah. I mean, because we know so much more. I mean, our parents and grandparents, they didn't have all this information that this food was even kind of bad for you. Mm-hmm. Like my grandfather was making scrapple, which was like the stuff left over from a hot dog. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like that part of the pig, like, and just frying it and eat. And they had no idea. Like, so we have all this knowledge of what it can do to you if you go too far.
Right.
But we also are able to cook things in a way that no one has before either. So we have this kind of balance of, we have all these amazing options from food all around the world, but also we know that it's going to give you diabetes. So so you kind of,
it can go any which way.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I went to my doctor recently. He was like, you got to cut back on the pan dulce and the tortillas and then I don't know why he chose to do it at the end. He goes and the Mexican rice, arroz rojo. I was like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm here, doctor. It's like, he translated the last one for me, but it's like, shout out Dr. Dennis.
He's doing his best.
Oh no, he's great, but he told me he told me like it is. It's like, you got to be careful, buddy, because you are getting older and you can't eat like you did, just 10 years ago. It's like 5 years ago even. He's like, and he also said, he's like, the big difference between, say, Hispanic communities and Asian communities, it's like the love for rice. It's such a hearty thing, and it's sometimes like a filler thing. If you don't have enough to buy meat, you buy a lot of this. And he's like, but that becomes, it's starchy, it becomes sugar, and he's like, and diabetes rates are high. And I'm like, well, I know it runs through my family big time, so it's like, that's something I need to look out for.
So the Asian way of preparing it, I guess, just isn't as,
I think rice in its just by nature is such a like starch. Yeah. The sugar side of it, you like with my mom, I would see it. I would see her blood sugar spike, and we have to, we have to get in there with the insulin and that kind of stuff. I mean, I do know that that's a thing. I mean, I don't comprehend them at the level that the doctor does, but I'm like, I know one thing, and it's, there's blood spikes in my mom when she eats a bunch of rice, Right. But granted, my mom doesn't just steam it with a little bit of butter. I mean, there's some work involved.
I was gonna say, this is not your little white rice.
Oh no. It's sticky because of the lard.
Right. So, did you get any skills? Can you cook?
Yeah, a little bit. As of recently, I think the quarantine really.
Oh, really?
Shaped.
Just since then?
Well, I mean, I could cook stuff, before then, but really, like, I probably at my sharpest in the kitchen right now. Yeah. Just putting stuff together. Yeah. I've learned a bunch from my girl. She's a great cook. Yeah. But it's like, kind of rolling up my sleeves and cooking like a nice spread. Mm-hmm. If we have to eat pasta, kind of thing, like a whole wheat type of situation. Right. I'm starting to cook a lot more with kale, being able to put that into something and just mix it up with a bunch of vegetables and, put some protein, like some chicken. Yeah. Chicken, I can really, throw some garlic to it and, have fun with it. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Not as good as all the other stuff we talked about, but that sounds good.
Yeah. All right, that's the end of the episode. Thanks for coming in. Way to ruin an episode.
No, but it really is an interesting thing. I mean, and I find it when I talk to just doing this podcast with a lot of people, there is this combination of a real love for all this great stuff, but also everyone's aware of being healthy and like what you can do to, so it's like that, just that balance of figuring out, when to really go for it and then when to, take your foot off the gas.
I've been really planning my going for it moment. Mm-hmm. Like I'm planning for it. There's a spot in Redondo Beach. Yeah. Called The Post. Uh-huh. Tom, they got these bacon and cheddar biscuits that are just out of this world, and they're not even complimentary. Like you got to buy them from the menu. They give you like I think they're $8.
Yeah.
I'll pay $32 for those. I mean, so that's my big plan. I'm like in a couple of months I'll go down there and.
Yeah.
Food is just such a big part of my life.
It's a huge thing. So we didn't even talk about your taco show.
Oh yeah.
Are you still doing it?
Yeah, hopefully we'll get back out there and doing it. You know, we try to do it through the pandemic.
Tacos con todo.
Yeah, tacos con todo.
Tacos con todo.
Yeah, tacos con todo.
I still can't do it.
No, you nailed it. You nailed it.
But yeah, all the great tacos all around LA.
It's just amazing. I mean, there's such a landscape of small businesses, taking family recipes to a next level. It's just so great. I mean, it's just
so great.
There's nothing like it anywhere. It's to have all these regions come together in LA and bring their thing to the table. It just
amazing.
Yeah.
And I really have not taken advantage of that. And I really should just use your show as a guide, because
I'll take you out there.
We just kind of like settle into whatever's in the neighborhood or I would love that. Yeah,
for Taco Tuesday, man, I'll text you a whole list. I mean, there's stuff in downtown LA like Tacos 1986. Mm-hmm. There's Evil Cooks, more in the like city of El Sereno kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Sonora town, which is amazing. They do these chivis, Tito's Tacos. If you like, kind of like. Imagine if Taco Bell was still a mom and pop shop.
Oh, really?
That's kind of where they're at with their recipe. They've preserved it in such a way where it's like the hard shell, meat, lettuce, and cheese, and that's it.
Really? Just good.
Yeah, there's just so many. Birria La Única, if you like goat meat. I don't know if you ever tried, goat meat. So they got some great, birria where you can get it in the consommé.
Yeah.
Mariscos Jalisco, if you love, seafood. I mean, the list goes on, man. There's so much great stuff out here.
All right. Well, I'm definitely going to bake you a bread because I'm going to use all your resources.
Done deal.
Thanks so much for doing this. Really.
Thank you for having me. This cookie's amazing. You weren't effing around, man.
No, I told you.
Holy moly. I wish I didn't start eating this earlier.
I know. I had to steal one from you.
Oh, man. Thank you so much, man.
All right. You're the best.
Take care, brother.
Always great hanging with you. We'll do a lot more of it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, man. All right, that was it. Jesus Trejo, what a great guy. I told you would like him. Especially when he says Spanish words, when he just gets that little flair and just talks about, I would say, you guys want to come over? We're going to have fajitas tonight. And he would say, you want to come over tonight? We're going to have fajitas tonight. Oh, just the flair. I don't have it. Gabriel Iglesias had it. Jesus has it. That was really funny how he talks about how then you feel like you're free again. Oh, he's great. Okay, now, my good friends, it's time to get our phones out and give a quick call and grab a quick bite with Nate Bargatze.
Nate.
What's up, man?
What's going on?
Not much, dude. Living it up.
Where are you?
Appleton, Wisconsin.
Ooh, I like it. I like that place.
Yeah. It's the first time I've been here. So we did a show last night. It was pretty good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of good cheesy bakeries all around there.
Yeah.
Most people like to eat.
Yeah.
What are you doing the whole weekend?
Yeah. Just trying to get back.
Nice.
Get back in and get some new stuff.
That's good. Are you inside?
Yeah.
Nice. Sweet.
Yeah.
That's good. I just get my second vaccine on Sunday.
Oh, nice. Are you gonna go back out?
Yeah. I'm gonna start up in April, I think.
Oh, that's awesome.
How's it been with the special? It seems like people like it.
Yeah, everybody's been very nice. I mean, it's like you don't ever know exactly, but like from people hitting you up on social media and stuff like that. Yeah, it's been positive.
Yeah, I always go through that thing where I'm like, I never read comments until you start feeling the momentum is really super positive, and you're like, I'll just read these.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. I was just having a debate. I was talking about you
last night when everybody was talking. My friends were talking about moving to Nashville. I'm like, you don't have to talk to any realtors. I have a friend that will sell you on Nashville.
Oh yeah, I'll get them a realtor too. I mean, they have it all.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like as we start to I was looking at flights. I was like, oh man, that's right. Well, as everything's like slowly coming back to normal, you're like, oh right, every flight from LA is 20 hours long.
Everything. Yeah, we're 3 to 4 hours to LA, and then you're like under 2 to New York, and then
God.
everywhere else is hour and a half. Basically, as you go to like Seattle and stuff like that, but you just don't end up that. It's all kind of Central Time.
Yeah.
Over is like where most of your work is.
Yeah. Oh man, how do you feel about going back? Do you feel like it was a good sabbatical and that's time to go back, or do you feel like, oh, I'm out of shape, I gotta?
No, yeah, you do feel that. You feel, but it feels really good. It feels good to get back. You still got that kind of weird, like it's weird to be back, and but yeah, I mean, yeah, it feels, it's just nice to get up there and like, I don't know, just tell some jokes, dude. Like, like be. I don't know. It'd probably be better if I was able to, like, it was like before this, like before the special. It's like now you're like, I bet these people watch the special. And so you got to have all new stuff, so you just don't have the confidence as you do as some of your old stuff. But, yeah, it's nice to hear, like, just laughs inside and, build off of that.
Yeah. There's definitely that. It really feels like we all like went on just like semi-retirement. Now it's like they open the door and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's right. You've got to find your way to the airport again." You're like, "I don't remember how to do this." How to get here, rent a car, like have a layover, like the whole the whole system. Yeah, and you're like, how did I do this every single weekend for 15 years?
Yeah, get in a hotel, drive yourself to the club, find a parking spot, walk like in line with the club. With the audience, like up to
right, yeah, all that stuff. It's so funny. It's like even like being back in a hotel. And it's like you hear the guy in the room next to you, and you're like, oh right, I remember this.
This is a reality.
Yeah, I know. For everybody talking about how much it's all going to go back to normal, and it's like, yeah, it's totally going to go back to normal. We're not going to change at all.
Yeah, that will be nice. Like it's just everybody will just eventually be. I bet it takes a while, but it's like you start seeing less and you just see less and less masks. I mean, once you look at these vaccines, they're going to be like, yeah, dude, I'm done. Like I'm just ready to go. Yeah,
I know. I got the one shot, and I immediately like was just walking into buildings with no mask, just like subconsciously.
Yeah.
Just like in my head, it was like, oh, okay, I'm glad the pandemic's over.
Yeah, I'm good.
That's what it feels like in LA. It feels like everything's completely back except for people walking around with masks on.
Yeah, that's how it is here. I mean, everybody's still got, everybody's even. I mean, here in Wisconsin, like. And I'm sure there's places where people are not wearing masks. You can see it a little bit more. But, I mean, overall, everybody's just kind of wearing their mask at their table. And then I think when people leave, they maybe don't, it's like that's kind of the first thing to go. Like when you leave, you're not putting it on.
Right.
And when you enter a building, you are. Then when you're out, you're like, yeah, dude. Don't worry about it.
I had coffee with Flanny from Largo the other day and just walked right up to the table. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You have no mask on. I'm like, oh, right. That's still happening.
Yeah.
What'd you eat today?
Oh, just IHOP.
Oh, nice.
I know. I didn't know that's the other reality. Like we were asking like a good breakfast place, and they were like IHOP. I was like, all right. Like I guess that's it. We didn't search out too far. I'm here I don't leave till Monday, so
oh wow.
I'm sure we'll go find, something
Yeah.
more local. But yeah, today was like just a real, just back in the groove. How you doing? IHOP.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, and then I'll get lunch from a gas station.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, congrats on the special. It really is so good. I really was so happy it's very rare that I'll sit and watch a full thing. And,
Yeah.
And it was really, really well done.
Thank you, man.
So carry that on stage when you're struggling with new stuff. Just people like the last one.
Yes, that's true. That is the best thing to. It is funny, the new stuff. You're just like, you say stuff and you're like, I mean, you're just like saying a sentence and like no reaction. You're like, oh God. You like forget. You get your new stuff that works so good, and I mean, you get like before you take a special, you're like, oh, this stuff all works. And starting over, you're like, dude, I am awful. I'm an awful comedian.
I know. And you literally sit there like, wait, do I have anything to say anymore?
Yeah, nothing. I've talked about everything. There's nothing else to talk about.
Sam Morrell had a funny tweet the other day. He said, comedians during the pandemic, I really want to get out there. I've got so much to say. Comedians after the pandemic. So I've been dating lately.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, it'll come. Have fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy IHOP. Enjoy the road. I have to say, even though just hearing like you stuck in Wisconsin and just eating at a IHOP, I'm just so jealous.
Yeah, I know. I was excited to do it.
Yeah. Rental car, IHOP. I'm in.
Yeah. Sign us up, dude.
All right, man. Well, take care of yourself. I'll see you soon.
All right, buddy. See you.
All right, bye. Make sure you look at Nate's special. It's streaming on Netflix. Look up all of Jesus' stuff also. Two very funny human beings. Thank you all for listening. Subscribe. Please subscribe. Please leave reviews. Please give us lots of stars. It really means a lot. Helps spread the word. And we'll keep this party going. You guys are the best. Take care of yourselves.